So I had this grand plan of coming up to the top of the hill and having this as my background for the video, but I forgot the adapter for my microphone, so we are just gonna roll with this to keep out the road and wind noise that my microphone would have helped with, but now we're just using the GoPro mic. So here we are. No one can be 100% prepared for parenthood, but as a father of 4, there's a lot of things that I've learned that I think can really help soon-to-be dads or fathers-to-be get in the right mindset for parenting. So tip number 1 is possibly the most important, and that's don't expect yourself to be perfect. Whether your spouse is having a baby or you guys are adopting, just remember that millions of people have gone through what you're going through, and none of them were perfect parents. None of them. So forgive yourself and just keep trying to improve. Please don't let social media and movies set your expectations for what it's like to be a parent. They are so far-fetched. You're gonna have plans and milestones in your mind, and I promise you, not all of them are going to happen on your timeline or the way that you see them happening. But as long as you're loving your children unconditionally, you're doing great. Tip number 2, understand that your significant other is just as tired as you are. So parenting's not a competition. You gotta be empathetic with each other. The key here is communication. Good, solid communication. Tell them when you're not feeling close to your child. Tell them when you need a break. Tell them when you're exhausted, but don't make it something that you're complaining about constantly. Also, try to anticipate your partner's needs so that they don't have to constantly be asking you, hey, can you help with this? Can you do this? Try to anticipate those things. Sometimes they need a break too, and this leads us into our next point. Tip number 3 is share the responsibilities. During the first year of your child's life, you may need to share some responsibilities or take up some chores that you didn't have before. My biggest tip here is don't keep score. If you do a ton of stuff one day that your partner normally does, don't hold that over their head the next day. So if your partner is the mother of your child, just remember that she's not only going through everything that you're going through, but she's also recovering from either a very intense birthing process or a traumatic surgery. So just keep that in mind next time you feel like complaining about you're tired or you're sore or whatever. When my wife was exclusively nursing some of our children, I would get up in the middle of the night to get the baby, to change the baby's diaper, to get my wife snacks or food if she needed it. And this way, not only was I no longer excluded from the feeding process, but I also made sure that she didn't feel alone on those late night feeds. Tip number 4 is know the signs and resources for postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety. About 1 in 8 women will experience postpartum depression within the first few months after giving birth. And some mothers feel reluctant to talk about this with their partners or with other people because maybe they feel shame or guilt from that. Just remember that you are a team. Support her and love her through that. Symptoms can include irritability, difficulty sleeping, lack of interest in the baby, friends, or family, feelings of guilt or worthlessness or sadness that just won't go away. As your partner, you gotta listen and validate her feelings. She is not a bad mother for going through this. Encourage her to discuss her feelings with you or other mothers or healthcare professionals to try to get help. But good nutrition and occasional breaks from the baby so that she can go do something she enjoys could also help. I'll put some links to postpartum depression resources in the description. Tip number 5 is make time for just you and your partner. Romance is not easy during the first, I'll say, year of your child's life. You're exhausted, body image may have changed for one or both of you, and there's a smelly, noisy reminder that your days of 100% privacy are gone. It's important to take the time before you have a date or some time together to transition from parent mode into partner mode. If you have someone nearby who you trust to watch your child, that's awesome. Go on dates. Get out of the house. And as fathers, we have to understand that it's going to be easier for us to check out of parent mode than the mothers. They spent almost a year carrying the child, and in a lot of cases, they use their body to feed the child. So it's a little bit harder for them to transition out of mommy mode. So here's what I want you as the fathers to do. Plan the date, make the reservations, set up the babysitter, and take your wife out. And if you can't go out, here's a real life example of something my wife and I do all the time. We put the kids down, we go downstairs, we play some old school Super Mario, we eat pizza bites and Oreos, and we have a freaking blast for free without having to leave the house. And don't feel shame for going out without your children. Just know that you're setting a really good example of what a healthy, strong relationship looks like by spending time with just each other. Tip number 6 is understand that each of your children are going to be significantly different. If you're a first-time father of one child, this may not apply to you, but just listen up. By all means, learn some of the basics from your first child, but don't think that your second child's gonna eat as well as your first, or that your third child is gonna sleep as well as your second. So learn the basics, but reset your expectations with each subsequent child, because they are going to humble you about how much you do not know. And I have a bonus tip for you. Tell your partner how much you appreciate everything they do every single day. If you're a first-time dad, you're probably experiencing a lot of exhaustion, some frustration and fatigue and maybe brain fog that you've never felt before. So please check this video out that I did about brain fog and some ways that you can help alleviate that. In the meantime, please subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Give it a like. That helps it cycle through the algorithm and help more soon-to-be dads learn some of these tips to help them in their parenting journey. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.